Now to the JoyNews tracker. The people of Ododio constituency in the Greater Accra region are yearning for infrastructure that will speed up socio-economic development. Residents say they feel left out. The constituency has many terrible public schools that need urgent attention. For example, the Ayalolo cluster of schools is in a terrible shape. In this edition of JoyNews tracker, residents are appealing to government to complete many infrastructural projects left abandoned.
The windows are broken. We don't have good desks. We don't have textbooks and many other things.
Richmond Nyako is 12 years. Lately, his interest in attending school is waning because of the poor state of the school. Richmond School Central Mosque is located in one of the clusters of schools in Ayalolo. The schools here have not seen any renovation for many years. They are falling apart. The roofs, walls, windows, and even pillars are falling apart. Richmond fears his school may collapse and harm them.
I don't like the desks, the roofing, and the windows because it is not good. It can hurt someone.
The zingers and the woods and the tables and the cupboards break. I want to tell Nana Kufar say you back. You come and do our tables for us and the chairs and the woods and the zingers.
In this school are children from Jamestown, Agbogboloshi, Bukom, and its environs. This new structure was an attempt to modernize the schools here. Unfortunately, the structure has stalled for many years. There is little motivation for children to come to school.
We don't have textbooks and many other things. It is only ourselves who have some.
There are more than 1,000 students in this cluster of schools, but the children have access to a 10-seater toilet facility. The Coastal Development Authority found it prudent to build another toilet facility for the students. This project was funded under the One Constituency $1 million program.
Where were these 3 toilet facilities built?
Ayalolo cluster, like your footage showed.
Unfortunately, the construction of the toilet facility that started in 2019 has not been completed. The pupils say, although the toilet facility has not been completed, they have started using it already, so the children defecate on the concrete floors. They are pleading with government to do something quickly.
Toilet schools no edoso, but toilet ba ko penewa. Tiesiro omo say omo mama aye fast amai.
JoyNews contacted the Coastal Development Authority for an interview on why the toilet facility has not been completed. The authority is yet to respond. In the same constituency is the Accra Sempe Basic School. The school was torn down and a temporary school was constructed 6 years ago. Construction of the school started in 2016 and completion was slated for 2018. But to date, the school has not been completed. The landlord of the property where the temporary school has been sited is threatening to evict them. In 2019, residents pleaded with government to facilitate the speedy completion of the project. It is April 2022 and the same project remains uncompleted. Residents make another passionate appeal.
Government eba cha school no. Eba cha school no ko ni ma bia ni nye show na. Ma bia ni nye keke. Popo nsigbeke bia ni nye keke na mo ma ba wo ni. Oh. Eba cha no eke ba ma ba na ba ma. Akeka fe politics. Aka school 12 fe politics. E wen yi ma.
I wanna let you know I got myself to blame.
The people of Ododo-Diodio yearn for government to fulfill promises made to them.
Let us wake up and do.
Now, the Menchia Government Hospital has debunked reports that nurses deserted their duty post, leading to the death of a middle-aged woman on admission. Humu Fusaini died on admission at the hospital at dawn on Monday. But shortly after, a journalist put up a Facebook post indicating she died because there was no nurse on duty to attend to her. The post has since gone viral, but the hospital says the deceased was admitted and given the best of care. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko has more.
The Facebook post showing a video of a broken and teary Hudu Sulemana, husband of the deceased, said in part, quote, Mr. Hudu Sulemana has lost his wife at the Menchia District Hospital in Kumasi of the Ashanti region today, Monday, May 2nd, 2022. The disheartening part of it being that his wife died as a result of intentional no-nurse syndrome, unquote. In the video, husband of the deceased is heard saying his wife's sugar level was checked every 30 minutes and was asked to buy medications.
30 minutes beer, or check sugar, 30 minutes beer, or check sugar. Eba I say, me say no, Missikana or Jimmy Sono.
But the brain behind the post, Isaac Insia Foster, explains why he accuses the hospital of negligence.
Because personally, I was standing right beside a woman and I saw the woman suffering. I saw the woman, he was, I don't know how to put this, his heart was beating faster. So if there was a net around, I think that maybe she or he could report to the doctor in charge so that she could be saved. But unfortunately, there was no one around to report to the doctor. So the doctor came late. He couldn't do anything to save the woman.
But management of the Menchia Government Hospital says the post is misleading and inaccurate. Clinical care coordinator of the hospital, Dr. Michael Opoku, says the deceased, Humu Fusaini, was admitted on the 30th of April and given the needed care before her demise.
The first of the case is that this patient, as I said, was on admission at the emergency department and was given care 24/7. The doctors attended to her, the nurses at the emergency department were also there to also do their bit, including serving medications, checking her vital signs, and ordering for all the necessary labs. And so the assertion that she came, there was no nurse, and she was never attended to and didn't receive the best of care, needed to be treated with the contempt it deserves. This patient had the best of care. She was attended to by our physicians, our nurses at the emergency department.
Medical superintendent of the hospital, Dr. Kamaruddin Koku Hussein, told our news team the uninformed social media comment has demoralized staff.
It is highly demoralizing because, especially when you know that what is written there is not the truth. Your staff are demoralized and then they've been wondering whether the service that we are providing is appreciated by the public.
The Health Services Administrator of the Menchia Government Hospital, Rosemond Ofuriamanfo, called for public education on the activities of the hospital.
Sometimes we need to educate them on some of these issues. That when you come to a hospital, you don't just pick phones and start videoing people who are bereaved or people who are in pain. Then you move to social media and place it there.
In an interview with husband of the deceased, Hudu Sulemana, he said he doesn't have any issue with the hospital and does not believe there is any problem, as the Facebook post suggests.
Sorry for the break there. Now, moving on to other stories. Residents of Kppea near Aggrieved in the Adansi North District of the Ashanti region have kicked against the operations of Akunta Quarry Limited in the area. They have issued a 1-week ultimatum for the mining company to regularize its operations or face their wrath.
Speaking to JoyNews at a press conference on the issue, Kppea Hene Nana Jamra Kwabena Yikwai II said the company has failed to fulfill obligations to the company before starting operations. According to him, the company needs to honor payment of right compensation to farmers affected by the quarry operations, as well as other social responsibility agreements.
Omamuni nyina ane company no ane hia ane yedu ya monim se edi kan kwa mo fa so register asase no man fa kwampa so na
the whole community met with the company. We cautioned them to create a buffer zone between the town and the quarry.
Because there's a muja buffer bitu kro no ane quarry no enam dwumadie na mo bedi no dust no ebetim de yare aba enti edi kan no ese o man no hu baby amodwumadie ne ebe hyase.
The general manager of Akunta Quarry Limited, Nana Owusu-Bempah, when contacted on phone, said the company is permitted to settling the goodwill package with the community. He, however, noted some social responsibility undertakings will be fulfilled when the business is in full operations.
Nana and a bemam lances, but yes, a bemam social lances are waiting me at the Yajuma. Answer now, Yavamam crime on my Sedumano. You hear me say, you hear hospital equipment.
Though the company may have license from government, we have to give them a social license to operate. But they have failed to meet their social responsibilities.
Because a cronan say see hospital. It is no money near here. I thought to be Afibiano. Yamba yama krono ani yamu yese ensema yakano yamu kodi akoto yamu mpanyimfo nim yamba sa babiom ono ne yama mabiom a yamu ne yamu fra kuani a ne yamu forso so magiska.
Mona Lisa Frempon reporting.
To politics now, and aggrieved NPP polling station executives in the Tano North constituency of the Ahafo region have accused the national executives of pampering the Member of Parliament, Freda Prempeh. A situation they say is affecting the electoral fortunes of the party in the constituency. The group also wants the party's national representative in the constituency, Daniel Patrick Ni-Laye, withdrawn on the allegation of biased conduct in the favor of the MP. At a press conference at Yamfo, the aggrieved executive said if their concerns, including the removal of names of some polling station executives from the album, are not well addressed, breaking the 8 will remain a mirage. Precious Semevo has more.
In the Ahafo region failed to conduct elections to elect executives due to an injunction secured by some members over unresolved concerns. Aggrieved polling station executives in the constituency accused the MP Freda Prempeh of masterminding measures to deny them a free and fair process. Addressing the press at Yamfo, they mentioned no elections for some electoral area coordinators aspirants, removal of names of some polling station executives from the album, and the absence of an official album for the election as some of their concerns. James Adawu Otre is a member of the aggrieved executives.
For instance, in Bion Kwanta zone, 6 polling stations were left out. Yamfu zone, 4 polling stations. Tanosi zone, 1 polling station, and Boma zone, 2. In the provisional album, which we have intercepted, we have officers for these polling stations, and worst of it is that the names are not those officers who won in the first round, but people who lost, and even some of them were drafted from other polling stations to serve as executives at polling stations where they do not have a vote. It is instructive to also make the case there has been unlawful removal of not less than 45 polling station officers from the album. We therefore see, among other machinations, as realization of her threat to polling station officers, which should not be allowed to see the light of day.
The group also accused the national representative, Daniel Patrick Ni-Laye, of biased conduct and wants him replaced with an impartial referee.
Ni-Laye connived with the Member of Parliament to institute an accreditation regime that tilted favorably towards the incumbent Member of Parliament. Who were these electoral area coordinators, polling station executives were asked to contact when no election has been held to choose them? The plan was to populate the venue for the constituency delegate conference with individuals whose name were not in the album, and to get them vote for aspirants who align more with the MP. This, among other things, point to one thing: the referee brought in by National has not demonstrated impartiality, as he is seen to be more in bed with the MP. We therefore demand his immediate recall from the committee and his subsequent replacement with a more transparent, impartial, and experienced officer.
They want the national executives to stop pampering the MP Frida Prempeh to revive their electoral fortunes, else breaking the 8 will remain a mirage.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is very disturbing to see a party that touts itself with having led major electoral reforms in national elections since 1992 is unable to internalize sale in its internal party elections. We therefore call on the national executives to check the excesses of the Member of Parliament and should stop pampering her as her popularity keeps dwindling in the constituency every passing second. We are committed to breaking the 8, but not until the issues raised are addressed by the party. Breaking the 8 will ever remain a mirage.
Precious Semevo, Joy News, Yamfo.
So once other people are fighting over breaking the 8, what is happening in the other camp? Former President John Mahama has assured Ghanaians that he voted into power come 2025, and new NDC government will repeal the E-Levy Act. According to him, the E-Levy is only a distortionary and burdensome tax that only forces Ghanaians to pay more while suffering. Addressing the nation on the theme Ghana at a Crossroads on Monday, Mr. Mahama said, unfortunately, in the face of this self-inflicted economic catastrophe, the NPP government has gone against all sound advice and introduced the E-Levy that heaps more suffering on Ghanaians.
Let's say, for example, a worker gets paid in his electronic wallet. His pay as you earn tax has been deducted already. For every transfer or purchase above 100 cedis he makes on his e-wallet, he has to pay an additional 1.5% multiple times anytime he uses his mobile money payment. It will now be tempting for such a person to draw cash from his e-wallet and make those payments for his groceries, his fuel, entertainment, utility bills, all with cash, because then he will avoid paying 1.5% on every payment he makes. The collection of the E-Levy began yesterday, and like a slap in the face, it began on May Day, when we are supposed to be celebrating workers. We are celebrating a new tax imposed on them. And already there's a litany of complaints about the implementation. I've heard complaints of transfers of under 100 cedis being subject to tax contrary to the law. And I've heard others say that they sent 1,000 cedis and paid no additional tax. Clearly, the Ghana Revenue Authority and those responsible for this tax were not ready for its implementation. Government's desperation to tax Ghanaians to get this nation out of the hellhole it has dumped us will not succeed, because government's own budget proposals show that the E-Levy will not make any significant contribution in resolving our problems, but will exert an adverse toll on the people of Ghana. We in the NDC do not oppose taxation as a principle. We will not be pretentious and couch fanciful slogans to condemn the principle of taxation like the NPP did in the past. We are, however, implacably opposed to distortionary and burdensome taxes like the E-Levy that only force Ghanaians to endure more suffering. A new National Democratic Congress government, God willing, and with the votes of the sovereign people of Ghana in 2025, will shall repeal the E-Levy Act.
So, former President John Mahama also criticized the NPP government for failing to provide textbooks 3 years after the introduction of the new curriculum at basic school level.
The minimum expectation was that the NPP government will build on the strong foundation that had been bequeathed them and achieve incremental progress over what they met. They have instead carried out a demolition exercise of that foundation and left our economy in quicksand, sinking at an alarming rate. However, now we know that responsibility and prudence are not concepts that appear to be appreciated by this government. As we speak, the cash crunch arising out of the is having a devastating toll on almost all sectors of our national life. Let's take the education sector, for instance. At the basic level, capitation grants have been in arrears for nearly a year. Textbooks have not been supplied to basic school pupils for 3 straight years. At the SHS level, lengthy delays in the release of funds have crippled the free SHS program, compelling key stakeholders like CHAS and NAT to issue ultimatums to government. There have been widespread reports of food shortages and nutrition deficient poor quality food in schools across the country. And the academic calendar has become erratic due to non-availability of funds to run the schools. At the tertiary level, UTAG recently just ended a protracted strike action to call on government to honor its commitments on salary rationalization and better conditions of service. The UTAG strike severely undermined teaching and learning on our various campuses. College of Education students have spent more time at home than in school because of the lack of funds, and trainee allowances have been in arrears for several months amid threats by school authorities to shift the cost of feeding onto students in the absence of timely release of funds by government.
So that's the former president there. Now to other stories. In the National Science and Maths Quiz, St. Francis Xavier Seminary is heading for the national championship after qualifying together with Nandom SHS, Laura SHS and Queen of Peace SHS. These 4 schools will be joining the seeded Canton SHS to represent the Upper West region in the competition. Now, having won both of their qualifying contests convincingly, they say no school will be an impediment this year. Manuel Kuranteng reports from WA.
Sounds of elated supporters of St. Francis Xavier Seminary after they successfully booked a spot at the National Championship of the National Science and Maths Quiz. If their school was an Islamic school, unlike the Catholic school it is, this victory on each day would have been the best gift for them, having fasted through the month of Ramadan.
Xavier, as we are, this is what we do, and this is what we like doing. Basically, they can say the mouth can talk, but when the head is cut off, it goes down with it. We are here to prove to them that we are coming to do a lot. They say the cooking pot for the lizard is the cooking pot for the what? The chameleon. But we are telling them that the cooking pot you are bringing here, not all of them can enter there. We are coming with something else. Xavier is going to the world. Xavier is coming for the thing. They've tried us, well prepared, academically, spiritually. Everything you can think of. We are just here to be the best.
That was their mood after their 61-point win in the first level of qualifiers. Now the job is done and they can look forward to the nationals.
There's something like past glory. It was them. It is now us. So we are in for the game. That's what we want them to know.
The excitement in the camp is being felt by the 3 other schools, Nandom SHS, Queen of Peace SHS and Laura SHS, which will be joining the seeded Canton SHS to represent the Upper West region in the quiz.
Oh, Queen Sec all the way, that one, yeah, that's the fact. Queen Sec, when you pass Queen Sec, you don't get any school, that one.
I'm looking out for OAS.
You're looking out for OAS?
Yeah.
OAS last year was beating all the schools until they meet Prempeh College in the semi-final.
See, it's just like Chelsea in Champions League. Okay. Chelsea is a small school. OAS is a very old school. We're just a young school. Okay. But our journey starts here. Okay. Everything has a beginning. So OAS, right now you can see recently they have not been doing well. Okay. And I think this is the first time in a long time we have made it this to this far. Okay. So I don't think we are backing down. With God, all things are possible.
This is Nandom Senior High School. You're really excited. Congratulations again. Thank you. We're going to the national championship. We're going to meet 5-time winners Prempeh College. We're going to win 6-time winners Presec Legon, 2-time winners Opoko High School. In fact, a big schools, you know. What are you going to?
So from Wa, there you saw my friend Sheikh Manuel there. Let's go live to the press center where the Ghana Journalists Association is addressing the press on the back of the Press Freedom Day. Live feed there now on your screen where we have Mr. Ayeboafo speaking at this particular briefing there. We're told that Ghana in the recent ranking in terms of press freedom performed poorly. We moved from the 30th position to the 60th, and there is a poor showing in nearly 2 decades. We'll be joining our colleagues at the press center there. So let's go to the press center now, where the GJ is holding a press briefing.
Whatever that we do in the management of the media is of prime interest to every one of us, and that is where we need to establish our individual and our collective responsibility in maintaining a media that is relevant, that is free, that is independent, but that which is equally responsible. You know, because at the end of the day, if we did not like totalitarianism, we equally did not like authoritarianism, so also did we not find comfort with libertarianism. And that's the reason why the Hutchins Commission in the US, at the end of the day, came out with the social responsibility theory. And it is imperative for those of us in Ghana that because we are interested in what concerns us, in any of the discussions that we have, we must remind ourselves of Article 41. Now, Article 41 is a thrust of the philosophy of social responsibility. Now, what social responsibility means is this, that we must be free to express ourselves, but we must take responsibility for the free expression that we express. And so, the bottom line in the discussion about media freedom on all that is this, that any one of us can say whatever that we want to say, and nobody should prevent us from doing that. But after we have said what we want to say, if it offends the sensitivities and sensibilities of other people, we must pay compensation. Because our rights is no more important than the right of anybody. And I think that one of the people that we admire in the US system, one of the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he has said that if you shout fire in a crowded meeting place and somebody is trampled upon and that somebody dies, it is the responsibility of the one who cried a false cry of fire. Because normal human beings will not look at the source of the fire before they start running away. The right thing to do is to run to safety. And if in the course of everybody running to safety, they trample upon somebody, then it is the one who said fire who is the cause of that murder. And you cannot say that, oh, I only said it. Because sometimes that is the defense that some people put out. We only said it. And what is even more disturbing in recent times is the fact that Abada have apologized. Now, if you do me wrong and you apologize to me, it doesn't make you right. And we need to understand it. We need to understand that the fact that you apologize for something is an admission of the wrong. And so if people hold you to account, don't just jump at it and say, but I have apologized. Why did you apologize? Why didn't you do what you should have done at the initial stages before you offended me? And now you assume that you can offend me because I am no human being. And just because you are a journalist, you think that you are more human being than another Ghanaian. Please, we must learn how to live together with each other. Let us discharge our responsibilities the way that it must be discharged. And when we do that, the rest of everybody will recognize and appreciate us. The only plea that we make to all Ghanaians is that we have provided for ourselves a constitution which says that free speech should not be criminalized. But it does not mean that free speech, people who abuse free speech, must go scot-free. What it means, therefore, is that we should not use any force at any moment in dealing with matters of free speech, no matter how offensive. But we must apply the full scale of the law in resolving that matter. Anybody whose reckless speech leads into mischief must be made to pay for that mischief, but not through the use of physical force, but through the use of the rule of law. Because, you see, the example that we give is this, that now there is Daily Graphic Communications Group. It has loaded newspapers in its van, and it is traveling. It gets to a junction. Yes, because there's free movement. And so it doesn't look left, it doesn't look right, and it moves. And there is another car which is coming on the major road. And you are coming from a minor road, and on the assumption that you are free to move, you move. And you hit that other car. And if they ask you to repair that other car, you say you are what kind of freedom is that? Now there must be some limit to the kind of freedom that we enjoy. And that is why this digitalization and the impact on the media become more critical. Are we interested merely in the fact that we were the first to break the news? Or that we were the first to have given a comprehensive analysis of the information that we are presenting? Because if you are only the first and it leads to mistrust, you are losing your credibility. Because credibility is at the heart of the media environment. All journalists, all the people in the media who have made any impact at all in their society, it has been because of their credibility and the fact that they weigh the consequences of every information that they put out, and at the end of the day, they look at the collective interest of the people. Now, if you allow speed to determine the pace of what you do at the expense of credibility, then it will be a useless speed. And in the local language in Ghana, they say that Yasma Obanyansafo Mayasma Onamontenten. Onamontenten is a long-legged person. He may outrun everybody, but he goes there, he has to deliver a message. He gets to the point to deliver the message, and he realizes that he has forgotten the message that he is to deliver, because he was in haste and could not listen to what message he was to take along, and so he set off. And he got there, he has no message. But the one who tarried and delayed, when he comes, he is able to deliver the message. Between the two of them, who is more useful to the society? I think that we need to make ourselves more useful to our environment. And therefore, whilst we must capitalize on technology and digitalization, we must make sure, as Jesus Christ told the people, that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. We are not to be under the influence of digitalization. Digitalization is to serve the interests of human beings and make us reach out better, faster, more efficient in a way. But that does not mean that we must sacrifice effectiveness for efficiency. We may be efficient, but we may be ineffective. At the end of the day, we do not gain anything. And it is therefore critical upon us that while we cannot run away from technology, We must try and use technology to suit us rather than allowing technology to dictate to us that at the end of the day, instead of building society together, we are going to scatter everybody. What is the purpose of development if there's no human being to benefit from that kind of development? On that note, as we celebrate World Press Freedom Day, and speaking as a media person, I want to appeal to every one of us that when we hold the microphone, when we hold the pen, when we hold the tape recorder, we should never assume that we are more intelligent than any other person who has not. We must count it only as a privilege. It is by the grace that we are handling those things at the time that we are doing that. There are more knowledgeable people outside there, and when we err and they try to correct us, let us not be hawkish. Let us not tell them, who are you? But who am I that I'm talking about somebody who may be far greater than myself, who may be far better educated than myself, but because he doesn't have access to the pen, and I have, and I'm telling him that he is not intelligent enough, and when he questions the basis of my assessment, I say, go to hell. I think that is at the peak of neglecting the professionalism. Because as somebody has said, he said that the journalist is allowed to tell everything that he wants to say, but the journalist is forbidden to lie. Because a lie causes more harm than anything, and it can kill the spirit of people. I hope that we want to be useful to our societies. I hope that we are not going to run away from digitalization. I mean, some of us tried it. You know, at the School of Communication Studies, when they introduced typing, some of us felt that, what is this? We considered that as nonsense at the time. It was only when we went to the newsroom and computerization caught up with us. And even in the examination, because the lecturer insisted that we type. And every one of us nearly failed. Not because we were unintelligent, but because we were stupid in not learning, of using the type this thing. And so the best that we got in that subject was B, when we could have gotten A and all that. It was when we got the results that we started thinking that, why did we do this to ourselves? Maybe today, when you have the microphone and you are talking, you think that you are doing somebody. One day, when you sit back and you see the danger that you caused, then you regret, but it will be too late. We accept this obligation. Then on that note, on the assumption and on the belief that we are going to be better journalists, we are going to be more professional in the way that we go about discharging our work, we are not going to allow digitalization to dictate to us, but we are going to dictate to digitalization. I accept to be the chairperson for this occasion, and I hope that every one of you will cooperate with me so that at the end of the day we say, oh, we had a very successful observation of World Press Freedom.
So that was Mr. Yao Ayeboafo speaking at the press encounter there by the GJA on the Press Freedom Day. He basically is asking journalists and everyone involved in the press to be objective. Yes, you have your right, but be responsible as well, so that you know that whilst you're putting out any information, it should be factual. So that's basically the clarion call that let us all ensure that we are responsible enough to practice objective journalism there. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll have business for you here on the news desk. So let's take you back to the press center where the GJ is holding a press briefing there. The president of GJ, Mr. Afil Moni, is speaking now. Let's take you to the press center and take a listen to him.
Executive Secretary of Kppea, Rep of Community Radio Network, Vice President GJ, other national executives, editors, senior journalists, media partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is with a heavy heart that I welcome you all to the 2022 World Press Freedom Day. Heavy hearts because of Ghana's latest ranking in the World Press Freedom Index, which is depressing enough to effect dramatic mood swings from one of celebration to that of lamentation. Indeed, a drop in ranking had been anticipated due to a confluence of anti-media factors, but never did we expect the drop to be so precipitous, 3rd in Africa and 10th in the world, and 30th in the world to 60th, a 100% decline. We watched with shudder and heard with shiver the merciless arrests, reckless attacks, and animalistic disregard for the rights of journalists, even in the line of duty. The deterministic outcome has been a sharp deterioration of the safety of journalists. That threat reigned on investigative journalists also went uninvestigated, let alone punished, while law enforcement officers who were supposed to protect journalists rather brutalize them. 3 years on the spin, the assassination of Ahmed Swale of Tiger Eye fame, in the most heinous of circumstances, has been a stain on Ghana's reputation as a land of freedom and justice, a citadel of media freedom, and a beacon of democratic accomplishments in Africa. Assurance upon assurance of arresting the perpetrators have remained a hollow rhetoric. Soon after his appointment last year, we received with hope that the announcement by the IGP, Dr. George Kufu Dampare, that a special unit had been established by the police to handle all such unresolved cases of brutalities against journalists. That hope is wobbling. Despite its damning tone, the Global Press Freedom Report does not spell perpetual doom and gloom. Neither does it sentence Ghana to an irreversible situation. It still recognizes Ghana as a regional pillar of democratic stability. In this regard, no institution comes near the media in terms of contributions to the country's democratic baseline, participation, which is a key cornerstone of good governance, and the fight against corruption. By strengthening their independent streak, solidifying their objective bent, amplifying their critical voice, and deepening their robust foothold, a vertiginous rise again on the global media league table is possible. The drive for resurgence calls for a clear, radical, and resolute stance to deal surgically with the cancerous spread of impunity. Impunity ignites a self-propelling and re-energizing cycle, which becomes hellishly difficult to defeat if it's not tackled from the root. And the root approach is applying the law fairly and squarely to all offenders at all times, regardless of their partisan stripes, material wealth, or social standing. We note with regrets that the broadcasting bill designed to address some of the lingering challenges on the airwaves has been incubating for far too long. While we urgently demand the birth of the proposed law, either by natural or cesarean means, we need to orchestrate a national conversation to take a hard look at the ownership structure of the media. Ownership confers control on media owners, some of whom go to the extent of dictating content to the professionals they employ. We dare say that this issue poses the greatest threat to media freedom in modern memory. A twin threat to press freedom is the pitiable conditions of service of journalists. The International Federation of Journalists, IFJ, bluntly put it that there can be no press freedom if journalists exist in conditions of corruption, poverty, or fear. In the face of the rising cost, the time has come more than ever before to address the flip-flop poverty in the media. As the GJA strives to obtain a bargaining certificate after its unionization, journalists themselves must treat their survival issues with utmost importance. Ghana's decline on the Global Press Freedom Index does not obscure the fact that some notable individuals have held high the banner of distinctively distilled journalism. Majority of media workers, producers, presenters, technicians, and others deliver peak performance.
So that was the GJA president there. We would have to truncate that and bring you business, but we'll bring you details of what he said in our subsequent bulletins. Beverly Broom joins me in the other studio with business.
Morning, it's time for Business on News Desk with me, Beverly Broom. Take some tough measures now to restructure the country's rising debt. That's an advice from the International Monetary Fund to government. It follows a new assessment of Ghana's debt position, which raised some red flags. Xavier has the details.
The IMF maintained that government must move now with some policy measures to help bring the debt situation under control. There are also suggestions that Ghana may now have to look at some debt forgiveness from its creditors. Joy Business is learning that these are some of the issues that topped discussions during closed-door meetings between government and officials of the IMF during the spring meetings in Washington, D.C., USA. These concerns of the IMF have been influenced by what they describe as not so good revenue position and whether government has got the space to raise the required funds to reduce the debts. The IMF appears not to be that convinced about the proposed revenue measures that government is working on. However, government officials have argued that the recent expansion of the economy by 5.4% for last year may bring the debt situation to levels that can be described as not so worrying. This is because they also argued that going ahead with these debt reprofiling programs and other initiatives that would help bring the situation under control. Ghana's debt stock in December 2001 stood at 351.8 billion Ghana cedis. However, government has revised its share of GDP to 76% from the initial 80%.
That's all for business. We have more business coming up in our subsequent bulletins.